Good morning, everybody. Class is in session. Number 10. The 10th lesson. Now, I was planning to get all the sculpting done in 10 lessons, but of course, as my usual, I'm teaching you all my ways, even my bad ways, like underestimating how long things take. So, we're probably going to need one more lesson for sculpting after this, but I think just one more. 10 out of 10. 10? 10? Yeah, so we're going to go over in this lesson pretty much everything dealing with the finishing of the head. Probably the biggest anticipation on this piece because we sculpted the face of the character and we haven't really been able to finish the head, right? And do the hair and the beard and the hat and all that fun stuff. So we really haven't fully seen our character. And this is what's going to really bring it to what we want. But on this character, we had to wait to do that stuff. And you'll see why, because the beard interacts with the environment around it, you know. So if we had started this guy and we made his beard straight down like this, but then you later decided to turn the head, well, now, you know, it throws things off. So it was better to wait to the very end to do all these accessorizing. So we're going to go through today a lot. So buckle up. We're going to go through how to do the beard, how I do my beard texture, how to do the ears, and different types of ears and stuff like that, how to do the hat and hair, and the eyes. So it seems like a lot, but there are real simple steps to like get you know, techniques to get it to look good. So buckle up. That's right, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. So then the reason we need another lesson after this is we need a wrap-up lesson. So next week we have the 11th sculpting lesson. That'll be the final one where I go over the whole piece. I show you how to like attach the accessories, how to just generally finish things off, and how to plan and prepare for either the painting phase or the creation of your base. Because everyone's project's a little bit different, so I'll try to give as much guidance as I can. Perhaps next week will be a little bit more of a back and forth with the chat, and I can look at your guys' specific projects and let you know how it needs to get finished so we can paint, because after this we're going to do painting. So but I think we'll do either 1 or 2 weeks off before we do the painting. Probably just 1 week. I don't know. I have to figure out if we want to do 1 or 2 weeks off, but there's definitely going to be some time off between the painting and the sculpting, so that way I can finish my piece and you guys can catch up, so we're kind of like all on the same page. And if you didn't know already, there's a set of paints I'm going to be using exclusively for the painting lesson. I have a lot of other paints, but I'm going to just stick to the starter set that Reaper Miniatures sells. I think it's like 35 bucks. Good quality paints. It's going to give us all the colors we need to make it look good. And so that way, if you get that set, you can follow along, you know, almost exactly, essentially. So if you're versed in painting, a lot of you guys do painting, like miniature paintings and stuff, you can just go off on your own tangent and just I can show you how I kind of do things. So with that, let us begin with our reference. Just so everybody knows, I will catch up with all the support and, you know, subs, tips, and raids. I'll give a shout out for at the end of the stream today, so that way we can keep the ball moving forward. So okay, let's get into our reference material for today, which I've gathered up this morning here. So we're gonna do ears, You guys might decide to do a regular human ear or like a pointed ear, but I provided 2 references that really, really this is all you need here. Something like this. This breaks down the forms of the ear into something that's easy to read, and you just need to look at that and try to, replicate what you see. So, and I'll show you my method to doing that. Hats. I got all kinds of funny, nice looking hats that we could draw inspiration and reference from. Hats are fairly simple. You could pretty much put a blob of clay on your character's head and turn it into a hat by texturing it like cloth. So it's like, it's really loose and lenient on what you can get away with, but there's all kinds of different options. So this is just to kind of get the ball rolling. And then of course beards. I got all these different beard styles. There's some real photos of some really long beards. I really like this one, but I also like this idea of these like foofy lamb chops here. So I have no idea what will end up being the final version. A beard is something you can actually build on top of too. So if you decide like you want to like add braids or something like that after you've made like a full beard, it's easy to really just add that stuff in. So yeah, that's the reference. Check it out, and let's get into it. Let me make sure my camera probably needs to be set up. Oh yeah, I have the new cable. New cable came in yesterday, but I didn't have a chance to hook it up. So let's see. Oh yes, let me redo this really quick. Okay. Yay, cable. All right. And again, if you're posting your work in the Discord, what are we on? We're on hashtag week 9, right? So before I get to the end of the class today, type in hashtag, I think it's hashtag week 9. Just double check. Week 9 in the Discord if you want feedback at the end of class today. Yep, week 9. If you want feedback next week, type in hashtag week 10. If you want feedback today at the end of class, you need to type in hashtag week 9 before it ends. So, okay, 1 second here. Get these settings locked in. Hope everybody's been having a great weekend. Mine's been pretty awesome, I do have to say. Okay, first let me show you guys what I ended up doing for homework on my guy here. I showed a lot of the finishing of, or kind of like how to finish up this area. I created this little belt buckle. Did these belts with these little details on there, some buttons using that circle tool method. Just a basic texture. Straps going up to the pack. Now you can see that the sides of the pack are still pretty rough. I'll be cleaning those up. I'll be kind of covering them up with, a layer on top, and that's kind of the stuff we'll go over next week. But yeah, let's begin. Let's begin with the face. So I'm gonna go over the hat, the ears, the hair, the beard, and the eyes. Oh, and the eyebrows. Normally, I would break this up into smaller baking phases, so keep this in mind. You can do just the beard, bake it, then the eyes and the eyebrows and the ears, and then bake it, and then the hat and the hair and bake it. So that's like 3 bakes. I'm gonna just do it all in one go. I'll probably not finish any of it, but just keep that in mind that when you guys are going through this, don't try to do it all at once, because you're gonna have a rough time. do layers, bake it in between each layer. So let's begin. Let's see here. We can really start. Let's just think, what's the best thing to start with here? Probably, really could start with anything. You know what? Let's start with the eyes here. So we're gonna add. We've created our eye sockets from way back when. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of clay glue. I'm just going to put some on this board here and then paint it in with a little paintbrush. Let's see. Got a little paintbrush around here somewhere. That's one. Okay, so I'm going to take some of this clay glue here and we're just going to paint it in there. Go. And I'm just going to take a little bead of clay here and I'm just going to start filling the eye cavity. I usually roll kind of like a little snake like this. I put it in and just kind of pinch off the excess. Okay, and you'll notice it's really nice because everything's baked, so you don't have to worry about messing up anything. So you can really take your time with this. I'm just gonna pushing the clay around, defining the shape of our eye. I'm going to push in the corner of the eye here, just a bit. Now you don't want the eyes bulging out, you want the thickness of the eyelid to be there. See that thickness of the eyelid? I mean, or you do want your eyes to be bulging out, depending on your character. Go. I'm looking for any like corners or edges and just trying to push those corners and edges down till we have a nice eyeball shape. And you push deep in the corner there and the corner there, and you just kind of push it in there. Okay, it's a little bit too far out on this side. Cut that back a little bit. Now, in this case, it's tempting to just get into like just doing one of the eyes, but try and do both of them simultaneously. It's going to be easier for you to get the eyes to line up. So let's just do that step over here real quick. Push the material in. It's always easier to go upside down on the opposite side, because then you can use the same tool. And you can, you know, let's do that. Let's take a brush with some alcohol. You know, there's some little bits of clay, little tool marks on there. You just take some alcohol on your brush, and we're just gonna go over the eyeball. You get it to round off, and just gets rid of all those little tooling marks. Now, there's so many different ways to do eyes. Technically, you could just leave this like this and paint in the pupils and the irises. But over time, I have noticed that it's easier for me to actually sculpt in the pupils and the irises. Well, I'm telling you, our characters are going to change during this lesson. So I added the object of importance here because we need the eyes to line up with what he's looking at. So let's start with a little ball stylus. Let's see here. And I'll actually start with the iris first. Okay. So I'm looking at how he's looking, and I'm just gonna take this larger ball stylus here. And I'm gonna put a softer dot. There we go. And see, I can already see it. I can already see it needs to shift over a little bit to the left. See how he's kind of looking like this way. Needs to be a little bit more like this. So I'm just gonna try to roll it over to the side. There we go. Better. So you start soft and kind of see how it's lining up, and then you just adjust. Now that getting the second one to line up can be a little tricky. But I always like, take the tool. The tool is a straight line. So if you draw a straight line from the object right into the eye, that's how you can know. So you can see his eye, technically on this side, can't even see the mushroom because of his big old nose, but his eye would still be lined up towards where the mushroom is. So it's like really on the inside here, like this. See that? And it's okay if you might have to do this a couple times. Just don't settle for anything less than it being good, because you'll regret it on this particular part. So you look at it, see how it's reading, trust your initial instinct, your gut. Yeah, like I even think this eye could be over just a little bit more. Let's see if we can move it. If you can't move it, then you just gotta refill with clay. We can shift it around for sure. Gonna push in this side with this tool here. And then redefine the circle here. a little bit too big, huh? When you use the same size ball style, it's gonna keep consistent shape here. I just went a little bit too deep there, so. There we go. It's reading well. I would actually turn, I'm gonna turn the mushroom like this. There we go. Now he's looking at it. Alright, now you can leave it at that and paint it from this point on, or you could also add the pupil. Which, again, I find it easier to get the pupils and the iris shape when you're sculpting it than when you're painting it, because these tools are much finer than like a paintbrush, or at least easier to control for me. So let's see here. Let's get this in here right in the middle. Just gonna make a nice little hole. Rotate it to widen it out. Now I'm going to remove the mushroom so I can get in there easier. There we are. Okay, so from here, our next step could be to do the beard. Let's do it. So when we're doing beards or hair or anything like that, you want to think of like Lego hair, where we're making the solid shapes of the hair and then we're gonna carve texture into it. So you just kind of mass clay. If the character's beard is draping away and it's not supported and it's really long, you might want to think about adding some armature. So I would add like a piece of wire drilled into his chin, and you can kind of create like a stable base around that. I'm trying to think of our wind direction here. It's kind of like I think it's this way. This way is our wind direction. So maybe his beard's hanging. Oh yeah, it's hanging and it's drifting off to this side here. Right. So in this case, I don't need to add armature because it's going to be pushed up against the body, you know. So we're just going to be kind of filling this area in. So let's add clay glue. We'll start with the chin, and then we just kind of add the mustache is on top of the, you do the jawline hair first, and then the mustache rests on top. Painting that jawline. Underneath here. I'm also going to get some on the clothes over here, kind of in the direction that the beard will go. There we go. Now we don't want to leave any space underneath. We want to really fill in so the clay is supported. So I'm just gonna take a piece of clay here and I'm just gonna kind of like cram it in under the chin. See that? I'll I can just take this piece we started with. Just smush it on there. Making sure it kind of tapers off into a real thin layer right at the chin there. And this is the part where you can really experiment, where, you know, if you're unsure on what you want to do before you add the clay glue, just start putting on blobs of clay, you know, and seeing how it looks. Almost like sketching, you know, before you add the clay glue and commit. If it's really big, yeah, you could, Sapphire. If it's like really, really big and you're just using a ton of clay, then yeah, you could use filler. Just, you do want some thickness though to the clay on the beard, and the reason is when we do the texture, if there's not a lot of depth to the clay, then getting that nice deep texture is not going to be easy to do. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the only thing to be careful about. Make sure you're still giving yourself, you know, a thickness of clay about like this at least, around on the outside of that foil. So when we go in to actually do the texture, you're not just bumping into the foil all the time, you know. So that's not fun. Okay, so I'm gonna take a kind of a bigger piece of clay here, and I'm just gonna smush it here in the side to kind of fill in this under the neck area, kind of back filling. I'm adding the hair that goes on the side of the chin there. Now our ear ends up kind of somewhere like this. And like I said, you can do, normally I would do the beard first, and probably the beard and the eyes and bake it, then do like the ears and the eyebrows, bake it again, then do, but because we have to get through this all today, we're just gonna go straight through. So let's just add sideburn material here, kind of where the ear line is. You can see our center line still there, which is nice. The ear, where the ear starts typically is the center of the head, but of course with our goofy characters doesn't have to be the case. This is the part where you're happy to put a lot of details in his zone now. Well, remember I was sketching with the beard last lesson to see if I even needed to bother doing this middle part, right? I did cover up some, but it is mostly just general texturing. So kind of looking ahead and making sure you're not putting details where you're going to cover up later is a good kind of habit to get it, but you're gonna cover up detail. It's just the way it is. Okay, let's do that other side. Fill in this cavity here. I fill in these little cavities so that way when I'm texturing and really tooling the material later, it's not just collapsing and changing shape on me. It's all supported now, you know. So I'll just kind of pack it in there. do the sideburns. I'm just looking at the shape and the flow of the beard. Notice I'm not blending in these little different sections yet, because the beard kind of has these natural like sections, you know, just like that. So keeping them separate, and even adding like there's like a part of the beard under the lip here that grows. You can even add a little kind of like little separate patch for that little soul patch area. And you learn all this just by observing the reference material. For me, my reference material is located directly on my face, so I get to observe it all the time. So this is the design phase, where you're just messing around with shapes, seeing how you like the beard to be. I could see there being a nice funny little curl here at the end where it's kind of coming off, but we'll kind of reinforce that and add that in more later. Making sure it's reading well. You could just use foil, or just like a piece of wire, you know, like a smaller gauge wire like this. Just drill a hole in his chin and plop it in there. If you use a wire, then use super glue to get that first layer of clay to stick to the wire. If you use foil, you don't need to do that so much. Foil is a little bit harder to get it to like stick in place though, so I would probably just use just a piece of wire. I will add just a bit more volume on this side, because we want gravity pulling the beard down, and it's kind of going this direction, down first and then in this direction because of the motion and the wind, you know. So we're gonna add a little bit more volume on this side. Could even have a piece kind of trailing off here like this. A little separation from the main mass of the beard, you know. Even a little bit more. Let's add another one. Bigger sections, if you will. And then we could get into braids and, you know, little bands and stuff like that. And I'll show you guys how to make a braid. I don't know if our character will have one, or mine, but it is a fun detail to do. Let's see. And once you're happy with the way the beard looks, you can get into, actually, you know what? Let's do that on this side too. Little hairs. I'm constantly thinking about that flow, that direction, so that we've decided. It's funny how quickly you get used to the character and his state right now, but let's add his mustache and see how that changes. Let's do clay glue. Mustaches can go, you know, they can go here and then drift into the beard, or they can be their own separate element. Let's just add some material and see how we're feeling about it. Okay, add the other side. And defining this shape of the hair a little more with the tool here. Kind of get the material in place, and then we can kind of really shape it and cut it to size. How many bakes for an average figure? And you know, sometimes it's up there like 12 or 13 times for a normal piece. Done it quite a number of times already on this one. Okay, so at this stage I'd be looking at just the shapes and then asking myself, okay, do I like the style? Is it looking good? Don't try not to dwell too much on these decision making things, you know, don't get hung up on it, because the reality is there's not a lot of wrong answers, and there's also a million different right answers you could go with. So just kind of see where you end up, and you know, once you have something you're happy with, move on to the texturing, which is what we will do next. I'm just going to show you a section for texture. Let's just do kind of the mustache and the beard area just right here. And I'll show you my method for making nice looking beard hair. Beard hair is different than regular hair. It's a lot more curly, and there's a lot more like space inside of it. So let's first shape the mustache. We want the mustache kind of coming off of the face. Yeah, let's see. Let's say this is the nose here from the side view, right? That's our nose, and here's the lip, right? So the mustache kind of comes really close to the base of the nose and then comes out at an angle, almost like a half, half circle like that. So we want to define that shape. Oop. And the hairs could be trimmed right here, like cut, and they come straight down right here, or they come down and they really pull off to the side and they're all really long hairs. So I'm just using the flat side of this tool to just define this. You can see I'm starting to put in some of the bigger lines. It's okay to get more loose as long as everything's going with the same flow. So. Okay, and then here. Now this all goes kind of like blends up to the side of the face like this, wherever that hairline is. Okay. Blending it in. All right, now use We're gonna use our line making tool. I like this one. This we'll call it the hockey stick. And what you want to do is you want to establish the hairline kind of first. That's what I usually do. So I'm just gonna get in there and put these lines really close to each other, right where the kind of where the hairline starts. There we go. You get the idea. Just like really tight together as close as you can. And then the next thing is we're going to do lines kind of continuing off of this layer of lines we did. Kind of pretty straight. Well, actually, you can either do them straight or you can even add a little bit of a wiggle when we do the beard. So let me show you the wiggle. So we make the line and we just go like this. There we go. That's what I usually do. So see how it already creates kind of a beardy look. So then the next line I'm gonna try and follow that same kind of pattern. You don't wanna cut through your previous section. So I'm just twisting the tool as I'm pulling it through. Wiggle back and forth. Oop. So see this one not supported very well, so it's wanting to move all over the place. So I just kind of push it down. Don't worry about these ends if they're not exactly where you want them to be. What we want to do is we want to get the texture looking good first, all the detail done. Then you use the tools to kind of manipulate them and put them where they need to be. But for now, don't worry about it. Okay. Mustache is a little bit different. The lines are a little more straight there. So let me do that section really quick to show you. And then we'll bounce back to how we make the beard push the beard even further. But you can already see it's starting to develop quite nicely, right? So on the mustache, we want those lines to be pretty straight actually. Very close together. And as we get to the outside, it starts to turn. See how our light lines are starting to turn? The hairs are getting longer. And we end up bringing it all the way through. Making lines right next to each other without crossing them probably be a challenge for you. But that's okay. Try your best. You can always just re-smooth an area and then try the texture again. If it starts to look too messy or things start to get a little uncontrolled. There we go. Now I lost one of my lines here. You can see it. Just gonna go back in there. And then the next step is you get your kind of just real straight lines or straight squiggly lines done. And then we're gonna go back in and we're gonna create a space. So I'm gonna use the pointy end of this. I'm just gonna stick it in there. I'm just gonna kind of start lifting and pulling and just moving sections around, making a lot of like squiggly S's, you know. And what I'm really trying to do here is I'm trying to really create this illusion of this airy, spacey material that the beard is supposed to be, you know. So you could even find opportunities like this where this can become its own like little stray hair here. Even kind of curl up like this. You'll start to see which areas are really looking too condensed, too packed in. That's when you need to get in there and make some space. You can even get even smaller with your line work, you know, and even add another line there. You know, at this point I would clean up these hairs kind of coming off of the edge here to shape them where you want them to be. That's pretty much the technique. Just kind of keep pushing things in this manner, you know. And like I said, you can go back in, you can add more lines following these new shapes here, you know, like this. Go carefully. You take it as far as you want, doing it like this, and then you can mix in some additive method. It's like, okay, let me show you some of the mustache too. So I'll go in there and I'll add in a few of these deeper spots. And then maybe right about there. Stick the tool back in the line, and then I'm like pulling out as I go through that same line that I already made. And we're just creating space, creating air. Yeah, I'm telling you, a beard will change a person's character for sure. There we go. Now, on top of doing this, at the very end, when you got everything and you're satisfied with it, you can even take it a step further. if you're using Cos clay, I should mention, if you're using other polymers, don't do this, because these pieces will be fragile. But you take the Cos clay here, okay, roll it to kind of a point here, and then I want you to pinch and like twist at the same time, really lightly. And you're looking for the when you get it down really thin here, you're pinching and twisting the kind of the chunkier part of the material, and you'll get the hang of it pretty quick. But it will create really thin strands like this, and then you just pull it and then drop it on the table like that. Just make a few of them. And then you grab those with the end of your tool. You're just gonna poke these little bits of clay and get it to stick to your tool. And then you can go in there and you can add the stray, like little stray hairs, you know, going off of your same detail. Trying to get that nice curliness in there. So you're combining additive or subtractive first and then additive, and you'll make a really nice looking beard. The key though is these big holes, you know, this big airy holes. Just getting in there and really stretching those lines. We don't want to use the alcohol on hair because it will make it kind of mush together and you'll lose that kind of crispness of your lines, which is what we want that to be here. What you can do if there's like a lot of clay boogers kind of building up, try to clean them up with the tool. And then also whichever ones you leave behind, you can just try to get them off after they've been baked, just with like a little knife or a wire brush or something. So okay, let's see here. If you have an area that's got like a little tie, so let's say this is like a little, like it ties off here and there's that little tuft of hair at the bottom. You kind of make all your lines come to a point here where the tie is, like this. Okay. Like so. And then you do again, this is a Cos clay only technique here. You take a piece of wood, you smush a blob of clay here, and then you're gonna pull it, like taper it down to nothing. See that? So fatter on one end, all the way down to the skinny end where I'm like blending it in there. Then you peel it off, and then you stick it back on. And this is how you can make little patches of hair. So take this, and we're just gonna cut kind of close together lines here. I'm gonna cut the little excess off there. It's too much. Grab it. And you can take, probably take two of these and you kind of twist them up or wrap them up like this. So it comes to a point. And I'm just gonna stick it to the end of that tool there. And then you push this like this. Get it to stick on there. Blend it in as best you can. And then you add the material. You could technically bake it first and then add the material for the tie part. If the tie is really like elaborate, then maybe you want to do that. If it's not, then you can try and just kind of sculpt it in like this. You know, you get the basic idea. Then you have that kind of tied off thing. Fuzzy texture for dreadlocks. Would you do that? Probably make, okay, so anytime you're adding like intricately done hanging bits, try and make them on the table first and then attach them. Okay, so let's say dreadlocks, I would probably do like a really rough rolled kind of let's see here. This is just a bigger version. A little bumpily rolled thing here. And then I would take probably a stiff brush or even a wire brush, and I would just stipple it like this. You could even put a piece of sandpaper down, so then you're getting both sides at once. You know what I mean? I could see the wire brush being better for this. Put these behind marks. Use a really rough, coarse, wired brush. Definitely would put the sandpaper down. That way you're not flattening the side, you know? And then kind of once you have it as nice as you can get it, then you just kind of take it and stick it on there and position it. You know? Something along those lines, I would say. So sandpaper down, some sort of wire brush. Make your dreadlocks separate first and then attach them. Trying to texture it on the sculpture would be a big pain in the butt. It's the same if you do braids. So braids, you do if they're these really long braids like swooping around, you need to really do a piece of armature. But if they're pretty up against the main beard mask, then you don't have to worry about it. But with braids, you just simply you just braid clay. That's what I always do. You can sculpt them in, but that's another way to do it. Where you start with one snake of clay and you kind of sculpt the braid pattern with the tool. Or you do something like this. My chat's being silly here. Oh, let me reopen my chat. There we go. So if you don't know how to braid, then you're just gonna have to watch a video on YouTube about braiding, but essentially it's you start with 3 pieces. You got the one in the middle. It goes over. This one becomes the new middle. Over. And you just alternate that pattern. New middle. Over. 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 And keep it as tight as you can up at the top there without stretching the clay. Over. 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 If you're going to do a really small braid, you probably want to use really firm clay. If you can use really firm clay. You can tighten these up too by kind of like squishing them. Once you kind of got it where you want it. Even kind of stretch it out a little bit to get it to be the right size. See? And then you take, if you want to go further and do like texture, take your little wire brush tool. Find mine. And you can just individually put these hairlines into each kind of braid section. See that? Any sort of dangling, hanging bits, it is easier if you can get the most work done here in your hand and then attach it and then kind of clean up and finish. Instead of trying to do all that work on the character, you know. Okay, I think that's pretty good for a beard. Let's jump into the ear. The ears. Of course, on this guy, the ear is gonna be quite blocked by our staff here, so we're just gonna sculpt around that. So ears can be a little bit of a complex shape, but you use the reference and really get a grasp on what kind of is happening there, and you'll do just fine. You could have your ears not even visible because they're covered up by the hair and the hat. So, but yeah, typically you'd want to sculpt the ears in before you do any of the hair or anything that would cover it. So what I like to do is I start with, let's put our clay glue first. I start with just the general shape of the ear. On a normal human, it's from the eye, the kind of like the eyebrow line is the top of the ear. Okay. And the bottom of the nose is the bottom of the ear. So that kind of range is where the ear needs to go. And it's usually halfway in the middle of the head is the start of the ear. So if you looked at the head from the side, halfway between the front of the face and the back of the head should be right where the ear starts. So I'm just going to take a kind of a chunkier blob of clay that's a similar size and shape I want to do here. The starting size and shape of the piece when you add it on can really help you if you can get it right. Stick it on there. Now they ears kind of taper into the head, you know, into this direction, where it's almost right up against the head at the base and then kind of progressively gets farther from the head. So I'm just gonna push it in place here. And there's going to be a lot of material on the back of the ear when technically the back of the ear goes in, right? And it's actually pretty thin, but we're leaving that material there to support the ear while we're sculpting it, and we can remove it later if we want to. Yeah, that's our supporting material. On a character like this, I wouldn't even remove it because it's going to be covered up by the hair. The hair will be all sculpted back there, you know. Okay, so look at the outside silhouette of the ear, make sure it's looking good for you. Look at it from the front, make sure it's not like too far out this way. That's looking good. From the top. You can do the second ear at this stage and, you know, mimic what you're doing step by step. It'll make life a lot easier on you. Or you can be foolish like me and just sculpt one fully and then have to go and do the other one and match it up. So Just don't be too hard on yourself with ears, because with an ear, you're never gonna see both ears at the same time next to each other. So you have a little bit more room for inconsistencies. Yeah, so just don't be too crazy about making them perfectly the same. With eyes or something that's right next to each other, I can see it in the same frame, yeah, as a viewer. So that means you have to be more close. Ears, you'll never see them in the same kind of frame together. So let's see. I like to let's just put the ear hole first, which is right here. It's about in the middle. Okay. And that will widen out from there. And then we'll do the edge of the ear. I'm just going to use the edge of this tool here. Push it in. It comes down to the earlobe. That line. Making it pretty deep there, see? And then we have this little Y shape going on here, so I'm going to put that little indentation there for the Y. Yeah. Now this part curls into the kind of the ear hole area. Getting rid of these little clay bits. You can already see we pretty much have the ear there. Pretty much. Then there's that little bump, right, kind of where the. Actually, let's see. Let's make this a little bit deeper. Right where the earlobe is, there's this little bump. Right there, right? It's actually attached to the head. And then his earlobe, since he's an old man, he's gonna have big old kind of droopy earlobes. So we're gonna add some more material there. Maybe a little bit too much. Oops. That's the basic idea. This can be a thing for reference, my friends. Just keep looking at the reference. Really study the shape of the ear and what's actually happening there, and you'll get it down. On these type of characters, bigger is better. On this type of character, okay? There's so many different types of shapes to the ears too, you know. Some of them will come to a point right here. You could add like little goblin ears too, you know. Second ear is always hard to match. It's a little bit easier if you do, when you start with the same shape. So like before you get into actually carving the ear out like I just did, just put a blob of clay, that make it the same, and put it on there before you get into opening it up, you know what I mean? So that way you're starting with the same or similar foundation piece, you know? It's gonna be much easier to match it up that way. So I did it the hard way because I was starting with nothing. But like, so when you add this initial shape here on this side, just that initial blob, take another blob and you can literally hold it in front of it and make sure it's the same size and mass and shape, and then put it here. So you got both the foundation blobs going. Then open this one up and then open this one up, and it should be easier to kind of, you're starting with the same beginning, because I think that's what can throw you off most of the time, is that you sculpt the whole ear on this side, and then you can start with this next side, and you don't even remember what the initial starting shape was on this side because it's already changed, you know. So or, you know, you could just be like, battle damage, and put a bandage right here, you know. Just kidding. Don't avoid symmetry, folks. Fight the battle. No pirate, no one-eared pirate, hook-handed, peg-legged characters, okay? Fight your symmetry battles, that's how you get better at it. Contend with it. Embrace the struggle. You shall overcome, and you should get better at overcoming. Through the fires of the struggle is the only way. Okay, so anyways, we got our hair, we got our ear in there. At this point, all I would do is clean it up with the brush, and then, you know, you could do a little bit of skin texture. I really don't do much texture on the ears. There's not a whole lot of wrinkles going on in the ears, so maybe a little bit on the ear lobes, you know. 'Cause that's really the only part of the ear that technically moves. But again, look at reference of like old guys' ears, and you can get some ideas going. And okay, next it would be, so let's just pretend I've been baking this as I've been going. So the beard would be finished, the eyes and the hairs would be baked, and so my next step would be the hat and the hair. And I'd start with the hair because it's easiest to get to. Now the hair is going to be the same as the beard, just a little bit different with the texture style. So I'm going to try and just kind of give you a quick rundown for the hair. But essentially we're just going to want to get the hair. We know he's going to have a hat, so I don't need to do the top of the head. Or if you are going to do hair with no hat, just follow everything I did with the beard. Build up the shapes of the hair using the clay, like Lego hair, and then once you have your Lego hair, you're going to do the texture. So I could see our guy having I could even see our guy having his oh, I forgot it's not baked. Okay, his hair pulled back into a like an old man ponytail. Just have that hair kind of filling in this area back here. Going this way. So then, you know, just like I showed you guys with the last one, over here where we did that little tie off thing. That's how you would do the kind of the end of the ponytail. You just do a bigger one, you know. So we have that end of the ponytail kind of coming out over here. And that's probably what I would end up doing. Okay, now for the hair texture, it's literally the same process. Just trying to show you over on this side here. It's the same process, but no squiggling. Just doing straight lines that are next to each other. Then you're also doing the same step of adding in. These lines would go all the way around, not just stop there. Okay, and then you go into your lines after you've added all of them, and you're just gonna kind of add just a little deep spots, just a little bit of the depth. See that? Just that little bit. There you go. Gives you the idea. Just that technique on repeat, plus adding the stray hairs, like I showed you, and you'll be looking good. Now, I think before I would do the hat, I would do the eyebrows too. So let's do one eyebrow so we can see. Don't forget the old man eyebrows. How much our character has changed, right? The vision comes to life. Now with eyebrows, I just take a little blob of clay here. You need less than you think with eyebrows. I'm gonna smush it down pretty flat there. Kind of cut out the shape. There's all kinds of different shapes of eyebrows that'll give your character different looks. Eyebrows are definitely a pretty key feature. And after that, you're simply adding in the lines. He's an old character, so you can have these big bushy eyebrows. So we're just gonna add the lines. Gonna start straight up, and then it's gonna slowly drift to the side here as we get to the edge. Curling around like this. I want to add in our spaces. A little bit more towards the end of the eyebrows. I'm adding a little bit of the squiggly beard curls going on there. I have some of these type of eyebrows growing. Once you start getting up there in the ears, you get a new kind of eyebrow hair. All of a sudden, one day, your eyebrow hairs just start growing. Quadruple the length. Nice and curly. There we go. Something like that. Just keep working with it until it looks how you want it to. And again, you probably want to do them both at the same time, back and forth. Second puberty. Alright, now let's get into our hat. So again, each one of these layers, you could bake it. I would say you don't need to like have just a baking session for the eyes or just the ears, but you can if you feel more comfortable that way. But at this point, I would say everything would be baked again at this point, and then we'd start the hat as kind of like a separate project. Now, let's get into this. There are all kinds of different hats, all kinds of things we could do. I'm not sure if I'll make any final decisions on my character here today, but I want to show you as many kind of ways and techniques to do things. So let's say it's a hat that's got like a big body to the hat, you know, brim, like a normal brimmed hat with a big body. You could start with the largest hat competition begins. Yes, you do bake in the kitchen oven. I'm just gonna put a blob of clay here on top just to kind of get things started. If your hat has a lot of volume, then yes, we're gonna want to add some foil. So let's just put this blob of clay here so we can do that. I could even see using cardstock or brim frame if you wanted to. There's all kinds of different ways, man. You can do hats. You just want, so the thing about a brim is it's thin. It's thin and it's and you want to add detail to it, but if it's just a thin floppy piece of clay, it's going to be much harder to do. So I'll kind of show you different ways I've kind of overcame that. Grab some foil here. So I have learned you can use cardstock for armature. So if that's one way you want to do it, that might be the way I would do it actually, in this more modern way of talking about like this cardboard material, like what the cos clay comes into, something of that thickness cardstock. So we would use something like this, probably something that doesn't have printing on it, like the cosplay box, with some sort of cardboard or cardstock you got. Okay, I can see it somewhere. Could borrow some from this Kleenex box. Okay, so I'm just gonna steal some of this, show you guys how I do this. So we're just gonna preferably take the missus, if you have a missus, take her Kleenex box and just cut a big old hole in the side of it. Like this. and then put it right back where you found it. There we go. That's what you do. Okay. To whatever size your hat brim will be. And then, you know, let's cut a hole in the middle so it'll kind of seat on his head a little bit more. I have tested this. I know you can use this as a... You can bake this stuff just fine. Nothing bad will happen. And we're just going to be using it as an armature for the brim of the hat. Okay. Ta-da! Now my character's hat wouldn't be that big. I don't even know if I'm gonna do a brimmed hat. And you could even, you know, you could even do like the folded brim like this. Little pioneer hat. And then and then right, yeah. Yeah, you don't want to take too long to, I guess, leave the clay on there. But let's just say, let's just do the top of his hat. You would wrap this with clay. I think it's going to be fun to see what everybody comes up with. There's hats that are more snug to the head, like, let me show you. You know, like, ones like this really don't require much, you know, if it's like one of those leather peasant caps or something like that, all you're doing is just building the shape of it. And then you're just texturing it just like we did in any of the clothing, okay? And you can take it as far as you want. I would say this one with the little hanging bits, if you're gonna do something with like the hanging pieces, make the hanging pieces on like a flat board, and texture them as much as you can and detail them as much as you can, then peel it off the board and stick it on, and then clean up any, you know, destruction that happens from the peeling. And then yeah, that's pretty much how you do those hats. But the brimmed hats is what we're gonna kind of show right now. I don't know why, but I always like this kind of hat right here. Kind of stands out to me. Something like that. Maybe our character will end up having something like this. But same idea, you know, you're gonna make whatever the shape of the brim is, you're gonna want to make. Maybe some card stock, okay? And then the idea here is sculpt. So add our piece of cardboard, cardstock, okay? Make the center or the pipe of the hat, the stovepipe part. So whatever it is, if it's like a witch's hat or whatever it is, same thing, you're just gonna make the shape. If it's a big shape like this one, I'm just gonna take some foil first, add some clay around it, you know, and then put it in place. And then what I would do is, again, you're just going to texture and detail this just like we did any of the other clothing once you have the shape you want. And then what I would do with this, have your brim in place, make sure it's the right shape, sculpt the middle of this fully, bake it without anything on the brim, okay? Then you're going to take clay and you're going to put a thin layer of clay on the brim. And you can either do one side at a time, or you could do both sides at a time if it's like a smaller one. But I would roll it through the pasta machine. If you have a pasta machine, if not, just try and get the clay as thin as you can. Apply your clay glue, and you're gonna just stick it on there, and then you're just gonna texture and detail it like you would anything else, and bake it. I would do the middle part first as like an old separate element, bake it, do the top side of the brim fully textured and detailed, bake it again, and then do the underside and bake it again. Now the key here is right when the clay is about to get to the end of the hat here. Let me show you. So on both sides you're going to do this. When you're shaping the brim, you need to taper the clay, so you're pinching and kind of pulling and making it so it looks really thin along the edge. See that? So it almost goes to like the thickness of the cardstock. Okay. And make sure it looks smooth, that transition from the thicker part to that thin part, before you do any texturing or detailing. Okay. And what's going to happen is that's going to make it read as it being thin, even though it might not be that thin. Of course, you want the clay on here to be as thin as you can get it, which if you have a pasta machine is going to be easier to do. Yeah, because if the edge looks thin, then it makes the whole thing kind of read as being thin, even if it's not. So there we go. I don't think we'll get into any. I'm gonna let you guys. The hat, honestly, it's a kind of a fun part of the project. There's no like anatomy or anything special about it other than maybe this brim. Just kind of use what you've learned on all the clothing and the leather and the stitching details and all that stuff, and apply it to your hat. And my guy's hat's probably not going to be like this. I just wanted to show you an extreme example. So, and give you the steps you need to make your hat, if your character even has a hat. So, by next week, which will be our 11th week, we will have the character essentially, the head of the character will be fully rendered. So beard finished, eyes, eyebrows, ears, hat, all that finished, okay? And then next week we're gonna go over the wrap up of the piece. So we're going to add our accessories. We're gonna add any more elements onto like the bag, or getting the character ready to be to the point where we're ready to paint, because there's always like a list of just odds and ends and bits and bobs you have to do to get it ready for paint. So we'll go over that next week, but that's it for this this lesson. This one is not commissioned. Actually, this piece is available if anyone wants to take this home once the class is done. It'll be a fully finished piece with paint job and base and kind of this herbalist mushroom hunting character, filling up his bag with mushrooms. So email me if you're interested in calling dibs on him. So, but yeah, usually my work is commissioned, so usually. All right, we're gonna get into the review of last week's work from you guys. So if you're watching just for the learning part of the class, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week for the finishing. Next week will be the last tutorial of the sculpting phase of our character. Let's see here. Let's pull up Discord, and we're gonna go check out the hashtag week 9 submissions and see how you guys are doing. So let's get into it here. Let's see. Okay. Let me refresh this. So hashtag week 9 if you're wanting any sort of feedback today. Next week, type in hashtag week 10 if you want feedback next week. Okay. All right. The basket is still work in progress. Hashtag week 9 from 18 Vix. Let's check it out. Hey, looking really clean, man. Really nice. It almost looks like you weaved it. Did you use additive method, or did you actually carve that in to the material? Almost looks, yeah, it looks like you're like weaved it like a basket weaver. Hey, that looks nice. A lovely little bag. Leather texture reading really nice. Good job there, 18 Vix. Great work, man. Silly Snails, week 9. Did the day 2 base of the body. It'll have a peg leg, sort of. So that will be figured out later. One arm will be holding a staff, and the other will feed something. In the backpack / backpack. This is fun. Oh, I see. So he's like reaching back and feeding something. Okay. Like a little animal or creature back there. That's good. That's looking good. It's looking really nice. Okay. So it's fine that you leave the peg leg like unaddressed. And you can just jump right into like pretty much whenever you want, you can just jump into the detailing and design of that. Treat it as like just a completely separate object or element with its own layer of sculpting. Because honestly, that's what a peg leg is, if you think about it. It's its own separate thing, so. There's a lot of fun that can come from designing a peg leg, for sure. All kinds of funny little metal brackets and stuff, so. But it's looking good. Good shape. Good base anatomy, so. Good job there, Silly Snails. A lot of character, yeah. Alright, Jabez. Sleeves and tunic finished and baked. Straps and belts are just placeholders while I figure out how and where they should attach. I simplified my sleeve design and included a heavy stippled texture, which was very enjoyable. You'll probably notice from the images that I have chopped off one of his hands. It was too big. I've done that many times. I've even made whole sets of hands for characters, then later decided it's too big. Begrudgingly decided it's too big and had to remake them, so. Okay. I knew it was too big when I attached it and baked it, but I was hoping it wouldn't be obvious. Yeah, see, you know, this is how it always is, I'm telling you, with you. Every time, you know, deep down inside, you know when something's off, almost immediately. But we come up with excuses, and I do this too, on why, oh, maybe it'll be fine when we get further down the road, you know? Like, you're always like clamoring to come up with a reason to not have to redo the work. So that's that little attachment we have to the time we spent on it. That's where it comes from. So yeah, that's good that you realize the realization of this is the first step to overcoming it. So unfortunately, unfortunately it was obvious and it was all I could see when I looked at them. I had to go going to replace it. It had to go, sorry, going to replace it with a hand holding a potion bottle. Sorry, it's blurred, couldn't get phone to focus on anything but the metal. Okay, let's see. There we go. Oh, that's looking good. Your clothing's looking really clean and nice. I like that detail around the sleeve. Fun little backpack. There's the potion bottle. Okay. It's a nice looking potion bottle. Cool. All right. Well, good on you for making the call to fix the hand. So we want to tune our minds to listening to that side of ourselves, that like relentlessly being willing to just destroy parts that we just did because of that voice telling us that it's wrong, you know. Instead, we're like all accustomed to like ignoring that initial instinct because it's a little painful, you know. But the pain, the more painful the mistake is that you have to fix, the more you're likely to actually grow and learn from it, right? Because that's how it works. So by ignoring our intuition, we're hindering our growth as an artist. The more times you like succumb, you like give in and say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna fix this. Something's reading off, and I'm gonna really gonna fix it. I don't care, you know, how much work I have to redo or whatever. Every time you do that, you grow like a lot, because you're gonna remember those lessons more than anything because of that pain of having to redo something. So it's true. It's the truth. Sculpting hands. Never did normal human hands before. Scared. Yeah, they're not easy. They're not easy, but they are possible. Still very behind. Work has gotten crazy, and I've been too whooped to get much done. Regardless, I've got my first sleeve complete, and texture turned out more subtle than I wanted because my brush wasn't as rough as expected. Yeah, you got to get a really coarse bristled brush, or even using a wire brush if you want to get more texture in there, but that's okay. Let's see what we got here. I think a smaller texture works on the sleeves because the way you sculpted them is that it's kind of like a finer fabric with the way the wrinkles are, so I think it works. I really like the crinkling on the sleeves there. I really like this part of your piece a lot. The way that leg and shoe and everything goes together, it's just really good. Nice work there, Toadstool. It's looking good. He really looks like he's putting his weight on his staff, which is really nice. Okay, let's see here. Nice soldia dealer. Decided to leave it, the big hand as it is. It's the one that is only responsible for the staff, and the in proportion hand for doing everything else. One fingertip got broken in half, but I could fix it a bit. Okay. It's quite fun to sculpt, so here's a question for possible future projects. How is it if you at one point decide to sell your sculptures? Can you actually create and sell characters that already exist? Or do you have to keep certain things in mind since you don't own the idea of the existing character intellectual property? Don't know if that's the correct term, but it's the literal translation from German to English, like the copyright thing. Yeah, you know, it's just a kind of a the whole fan art realm is just an area of gray. It's one of those things where technically, if you make a painting or a sculpture of a character that's owned by somebody else, like Spider-Man or something, right? Technically, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. But will you get in trouble for it? If you're just making a one-off thing, a one-of-a-kind piece, probably not. If you say you make like a sculpture of Spider-Man and then you mold it and cast it like 200 times and you're selling them for like, you know, $1,000 a piece or something like that, that might get some attention to you, you know? So it's like, it's just one of those things. I've been doing, you know, one-of-a-kind, one-off pieces, commissioned work for a long time, and I've never had any problems. So it's just, and you go around to conventions and stuff, and all the artists that are making prints of illustrations of known characters and stuff, they don't have licenses either. It's just one of those things where it's like, you know, it's only a problem if they have a problem with it, essentially. So if they never have a problem with you and how you're doing things, then you're never gonna have a problem. So, but yeah, just always know that it's never gonna come out of nowhere that all of a sudden you're just getting like drug into court to be sued. There'll always be a warning, like what they call a cease and desist first, which is just like, hey, stop doing that. We don't like this. Yeah, so I don't know. It was one of those things. Just don't do Disney. There's certain, of course, there's certain companies that they're like hardcore about that. Disney's really hardcore about it because they do it themselves. So that's why they know the game. I think literally everything that Disney has ever made was ripped or stolen or taken from somebody else. So of course they are the absolute hypocrite going after small artists, but yeah, it's not as intensive, crazy thing as you would think, as long as you're being as long as you're not like mass producing or getting too crazy with it. So there's also room for like commentary though too. So say you took like a Disney princess and you zombified the Disney princess. You know, you did like zombie Cinderella. Well, that's a commentary on it. You know, that's not the same anymore. So there's all kinds of little holes and things to maneuver around. Also, you could argue that a character that's a two-dimensional character being sculpted three-dimensionally is changed enough that it's you know, there's a certain like percentage, and really that would all get argued off in the courts, and you don't really know. There's no real clear defining line there, you know. So you just avoid you know, causing any stir, or yeah, that's the best answer I can give you. So but yeah, as far as something like this character though, this is our own original creation. Your guys's too, even though you're following along for me. There's nothing wrong with selling off a piece like this. So but yeah, let's take a look at your work. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay, I'm trying to, I can't really see where the finger broke, so that's good. I like his little bag. I would like to see him leaned more forward. So I could see if you could cut the, you might not need to do this till the end, but I can see at the end you cut that little stem of wire off and then lean the whole character more forward, so he's a little bit postured forward and not so much standing kind of straight up. He's almost straight up, a little bit leaning back right now, so that's an easy fix though. Torn. Got this belt added, satchel, shirt, and collar. His shirt is very tight, so he didn't get wrinkles. I don't plan on keeping the mushroom where it is. There was just a hole in the wood, so I stuck it in there. Okay. Let's see. Alright. Quite a character. I like, you know, I like the lankiness of your character. It works really well. Reads like an elf of some sort. Little woodland elf. Those tight little clothes and lanky limbs. Good job, Torn. Red ticket. Haven't finished the shirt and sleeves on one of the sculpts yet. Then I'll attach the dragon on its back. Seeing how far everyone else has gotten the previous post has really motivated me to do more. That's good. Jaunty, that's good. Let's see. Ah, yes. Good job on the lighting. See, when you have lighting and shadow like this, I can see the shapes more clearly. You know, that works really good. Awesome. Let's see the other character. That's so cool. It's a nice one. Okay, and I see he needs his sleeve there. Great, you're doing a good job there, Red Ticket. Keep it up, man. Man, it's exciting. It is, isn't it? It's really fun to see all your guys' work and how different it is, how good it is. You guys are doing a really good job. So, Saradini. I've been busy with other things this week. Started again with the hand for my initial character. But that is just at the armature stage, as I don't have any fast drying epoxy, so he hasn't made much progress this week. I've started this one hand of my younger character and began working on its torso. Although it still has a way to go without epoxy, I am a bit nervous about attaching the backpacks. Yeah. So here's what you can do. Use a piece of wire, drill a hole into the back of the character and a hole into the back of the backpack, and then put a piece of wire there, and and then use whatever glue you have to secure it, and that'll give it like a mechanical something holding it on other than just like glue. So if you're nervous about it, I'd be confident that nothing will happen if you do that. So when in doubt, peg it together essentially. So you can use dowel rod for that too, or just a piece of scrap wire. That's what I would do if you're worried about it. And then once you get past the first bake and it's still on there, then you don't have to worry about it. Then you know it's going to be fine. So hand's looking good. It's looking really good for the young character. There you go. Props on the challenge of making a youngster. It's not easy, but you're doing well. The key will be when you do the eyes. That'll be the key. Make the eyes like the irises and the pupils a bit bigger, so it creates that more kind of cute, bubbly nature. Let's see here. Sherry didn't quite get his second arm finished, and I need to add laces in several places, but I got enough finished so I can work on the face and head. Getting so close to seeing him come alive. Very exciting. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, he's the one. He's feeding a squirrel or something, right? Isn't that? It's like a little creature in his hand. Awesome, Sherry. I see. We gotta add the stitches. A lot of stitch setting yourself up. I love doing that stitching stuff too. Even though it can be meticulous in the moment, it's just so satisfying to see all the little stitches like that. So, good job there, Sherry. Clayton, caught up after a full day. Base is coming along. Let's see what we got here. All right. Oh man, you Yes, you. Yeah, but you could. You really could. This is actually, thanks for joining. This is actually a class where you can join and follow along. There's a playlist where we're doing this character start to finish together. I'm really guiding you through the process. So, if you have the desire and you want to give it a try, check it out. But either way, thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Backpack's looking awesome. Oh, okay. I see you just reshaped the head a bit. Quite the geometric head he has there. I see. It's probably to make room for the backpack too, huh? Yeah, it is coming along. He has such kind eyes. I love it. Make sure when you're doing the pupils on him that it's he has those kind eyes, so you actually want the pupil to be more of like where the upper eyelid is kind of covering most of the iris, or like chopping the iris in half, you know what I mean? So he keeps that kind look. Don't put the pupil and iris right in the middle so he looks like, you know, like all like bug-eyed, but more of like he's got kind of like a, like, you know what I mean. Keep the kind eye look going when you do the pupils. Mr. Brightside, running a little bit behind, but I have the sleeves complete and the backpack mounted. So much fun. Love seeing everyone's progress. Let's see, Mr. Brightside. Let's see what we got here. This guy's a real happy. What a happy fellow. I love the like bubbliness of the shoes and the backpack. Really has the same style to it. That like roundedness, you know. Oh man, awesome. Good job there, Mr. Brightside. Lou, that's pretty much how I would look this. Oh wait, what? That's pretty much how it would look, this character with all the clothes and accessories, and I'm very happy about it. So it looks so far. Okay, let's see if he did some sketching. Oh yeah, it's all together. Awesome. I could see him having like a like elegant the curly hair possibly, or something like that. Something really like Victorian hairstyle. Look into Victorian hairstyles and stuff. Or even if you wanted to do like goofy bookworm style too, where he's like bald on top and he's got the long hair on the sides. So it's looking very good. Really natural posing. There's motion here. Oh wow, great job. Great job on that. Little pocket with some bottle, you know. Yes. Awesome. Good job, Lou. Good job. Sapphire. Got the backpack attached and the shirt. Let's see. Maybe not as detailed as everyone else's, but we'll see if I feel inspired to add more to it. Okay. That's alright, Sapphire. Remember guys, it's nice to get inspired by other people's work, but don't compare yourself to others, okay? Just be I know there's a fine line between seeing someone else's work and letting it inspire you and build you up, or letting it crush you. So, you know what I mean? Like and you have to just if you feel like it's crushing you and your self-esteem on your own work, then you gotta stop looking at stuff. Or you just gotta remind yourself that, you know, you should be comparing yourself to yourself, and that's it, okay? Nobody else. Well, let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. I really like the staff and the proportions of your character. Nice backpack. Yeah, see, I was thinking about something like this too, especially along the sides. Awesome. Nah, it's reading really well. You're doing a good job. Quit beating yourself up there, Sapphire. Great work. Dragon, hello. Here we are. Hashtag week 9 already. Challenging week with the shirt, vest, and attaching the basket with the straps. Since each one affects the other. But I'm happy with the results. Accessories placed just for the picture and sketching the ears and hat. Cheers. Okay, that's what we got here. Awesome. Oh, I see. Okay, he's gonna have those little gremlin ears. You know what you might want to do with these ears when you actually go to do them, Dragon, is do a really thin, almost like base structure. So sculpt the ears in really thin, cut the shape of them, and then bake it, and then sculpt the inside of the ear and the back side of the ear and bake it again. So that way you're like not trying, always you're gonna be playing the floppy detail game where detail this side and it bends all over, and detail this side and it bends all over. So you want to try, and I did that technique on like Nidalee when I sculpted her. She had those really big ears, and I did like a substructure sculpt first. Just make it really thin, so that way you're not making the ears too thick at the end, you know. So just enough to give you some structure to sculpt on top of. So okay. Oh yeah, I like the wood rack at the bottom. Nice. Very cool. Doing really good there, Mr. Dragon. A savage dad finally caught up. Hashtag week 9. All right, let's see what we got here. All right. Let's see what he's got. Ah, yes. A mug. Mug of water, I suspect. I'm just kidding. Very good. Looking good there, Mr. Savage Dad. Excited to see how this comes together with the beard and all that stuff. But reading really well. Okay, let me that's the bottom of the list. Let me refresh. There. Okay, good. Yeah. Let's go back to new. All right, we got one entry here from Ghoul. Let's check it out. All right, working on the shirt. Hey, I like that. It's looking nice. Shirt detail. I like the little hanging, flopping sleeve. I'm sure you're having a hard time with dealing with the floppy parts and texturing them. What you can do, and with those big droopy sleeves, this is the way you have to start thinking, is fill them with clay and then sculpt it exactly how you want it, and then afterwards you can, if you have a Dremel tool, you can just Dremel out the cavity. It makes it, or you can fiddle with the floppy bit and try and make it work. I just, over time, I've learned to like avoid scenarios like that by always having structure on the inside and then removing that structure later or something like that. So but I mean, yours is looking good, so it's just something to consider if you are having a hard time. Oh wait, okay, wrong one. There we go. Looking good. Nice work. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we got everybody. Is there anybody that I missed before I wrap up here? Just let me know. So next week, type in throughout this week as you're working on your projects before next Sunday, type in hashtag week 10 for your submission. Okay? Hashtag week 10. And then next week we'll do the last sculpting class, and we'll keep doing feedback on the sculpting throughout the whole time we're continuing to do classes. We'll keep doing that. So until this piece is finished, okay? And then maybe we'll create a thread for like, it'd be nice if we can do like some sort of a gallery at the end to like look at everybody's finished work. But everyone will be finishing at different times. It's just how it is. And I'd rather you guys take the time and finish it and do it right than to try to make some sort of a date, some sort of a deadline. So don't feel like you need to be exactly where I'm at in the process. Take your time. And I think we'll create like a section where you guys could submit your finished pieces, and then, you know, we'll look at them as they come in, something like that. But anyways, hey, thanks for joining me, everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Let's see what we got here on the let me pull up see if there's anybody that subscribed or anything during the class today. Make sure to give everybody a thanks. 1 second. Oh, hey, Sprockets, thank you very much for that Prime sub, man. 14 months. Just a second. Logging into my dashboard. I'm excited. I'm excited to work on designing the... I got a lot of homework to do. Holy moly. I better get to it. No slacking this upcoming week, that's for sure. Recent events, there we go. Okay, let's see here. We got Sprockets, thank you very much, my friend. Gigadox resubbed for 46 months. See not lurk, see not love. Thank you very much, Gigadox. And Fat Peanut came in at the beginning with a tier 3 sub of 47 months. 47. Thank you very, very much, Fat Peanut, for that. And I think that's everybody. So, yeah. Let's find somebody to raid. I'm going to get on out of here. I wish you all a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I'll see you bright and early Monday morning. And we'll start the new week. Let's see here. Who do we have that's live? Okay. Let's go raid the Zandra. She's doing some sculpture work. The Zandra. Let's go see what she's up to. All right, everybody. Till next time. Bye-bye.